You are listening to the Just Between Us Women podcast, hosted by Leah Brueggemann and Katherine Johnson.
We are bringing you conversations about topics you might feel strongly about but are too afraid to begin. How we navigate entrepreneurship as a wife and a mom without losing ourselves in either identity. We want to open the conversation on how we continue to grow in our faith while pursuing our passions. How strong communities of women help us to grow personally and ways to foster them. And taboo subjects no one wants to bring up.
Don't need to be a business owner, a wife, or a mom to come join us. All you have to have is a desire for discussions that scratch deeper than the surface. Hey guys, so we wanted to pop on and talk today about not losing yourself in the identity of being a mom. So I'm sure that if you're a mom, you can already relate to this, because do you do any of the same hobbies that you used to do before you were a mom? And one of my favorite things to think about is, how do you introduce yourself? And so let's say, I was going to introduce myself and be like, hey, I'm Leah. And you said, hey, I'm Clara. I'm Jason's mom. And this may not be how you're presenting it, but sometimes we wrap up our whole identity in being Jason's mom and being so-and-so's mom. And there's a couple reasons why I think that we shouldn't do that. Because granted, I'm a young mom, so I'm not telling you what to do. I only have one child. But why I think that is really important not to do is, you don't want to lose who you were before you became a mom. Being a mom is now part of your identity. It's part of who you are, but it is not all of who you are. And the reason why I say that is because if you only wrap yourself up in being a mom, you lose a part of yourself that you were before. And yes, being a mom is one of the biggest, greatest blessings. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that you can be the best mom to your kid by also being the best version of you.
Yes. And I would argue that you are a better mom when you take care of that part of you, who you were before you had kids. If you take care of that part of you, you're a better mom even than when you don't. When you just, I don't want to say lose yourself in the identity of being a mom, but at the same point, like you were saying, you don't want to become that is your sole identity, because that's not who you were before you had kids. And
yes,
like, it is a huge transition. Like, again, I'm a young mom. I only have one child right now, but it is a really big transition when you go from, being just married, the two of you, to adding a child to your family. That is a big transition. And, marriage is a big transition even. So that's like, I had my son, Seth, it was into our second year of marriage. So we had like the first year of our marriage, just us together, to get to know each other. And I'm thankful for that. Like, God knew what he was doing. He had a plan. But like that, getting married is a huge transition. And then you add a kid on top of that. And that is a huge transition because, even in year 2 of being married, that's still pretty new. Things are still pretty new. You're still getting used to each other. So add a kid on top of that. That's a big transition. And it is really easy to kind of lose yourself in just being a mom, because, then all of a sudden your world changes and this little baby is your entire world. Like, they are everything to you. They're like the air you breathe. They are just everything. Like, it's like the love at first sight feeling when you see your baby for the first time.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that's not what we want to change. Like, you should be obsessed with your baby, it's your baby. But at the same time, I think things are harder after you have a baby. Like, it's a lot harder to just go have a coffee date with your friend, because now either you have to take the baby with you, or you have to have a babysitter, or you have to make sure dad's home. Mm-hmm. It's a lot harder. So maybe you love to draw. Like, bet you any bucks, like, your baby's gonna try and eat your pencils. Is anything like my child?
Yes.
So it takes greater effort to remember the things that you used to do. Like, did you love to hike? Were you really into reading? Did you what did you do before you had a child? And it's so easy to get so busy being a mom that it in some ways feels like it's more work to try and find time for those things that you used to do, those little self-care things that you used to do. But if you take that time, you guys, you are so much more excited and refueled and re-energized to come hang out with your kid and
Yeah.
be a mom, because your cup is full and you took those few minutes or few hours or whatever it was to come back and feel amazing. And if you just keep going and going and going and going, you start to resent, you start to feel burnt out, no matter how much you love being a mom. And if you don't remember who you were and you don't hang on and keep developing that person, what happens when your kid's grown up and leaves the house?
Yeah.
That's like, I feel like probably a whole discussion for something else,
Yeah.
but
I was going to say that's like a whole nother episode, which is fine. But it's
yeah.
true. If you don't continue, not only like if you don't continue to develop who you were before you had kids, is it going to affect you after your kids leave? But it's going to affect you in the meantime as well, like you were saying, because you're going to be like resentful no matter how much you stink and love your kid. Because, like I said, they're your whole world. You are so in love with your children. And no matter how much you love being a mom, there is going to be some resentment there. And there's going to be resentment towards your spouse as well,
Mm-hmm.
because, and, on both sides, because your spouse is going to be like, you're not the same person that I married anymore.
Yes.
Like, if you totally change, I'm not usually dads don't resent their kids for this. That's like super rare that happens, but they're going to resent you. And whenever a marriage is like full of resentment and bitterness and not doing well, then your kids are going to suffer. So if you're not taking care of yourself, it's going to impact your marriage in a bad way, and then it's going to like impact your kids in a bad way, and you are just going to be bitter and resentful, and you aren't even going to know who the heck you are anymore. This is like
Yes.
you almost
Yes.
have an identity crisis at some point, because you're like, you know what? I don't even know who I am anymore. I
Mm-hmm.
became a mom. I got so caught up in being a mom with all of its joys and craziness. And now I'm like, I don't know who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I feel like this is also probably diving into maybe a different territory and maybe getting a little bit too deep for a first episode. But um, if, God forbid, that you can't have more kids, and I
Yeah.
see this a lot in my work, um, it's really, really hard. It's really, really, really hard for these moms. Um, okay, not being able to have more kids when you want more kids is
Mm-hmm.
insanely hard, no matter which way you look at it. I am not discounting that. But it's also really hard too when your whole identity and worth has been wrapped up in being a mom, because then you feel like you failed,
Yeah.
and that was taken away from you. And that is, like I said, a topic super deep,
Mm-hmm.
for another thing. But I think it's just so important to not wrap up your whole persona in being a mom, because you were somebody before you were a mom, and you're going to be continuing being somebody while you're a mom,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to continue that afterwards. Now, the person that you were, that's who your spouse married, that's who your husband married, and that's who your kids are getting to know.
Mm-hmm.
And you owe it to yourself and you owe it to your family to continue to grow into that person.
Yes. I love that. Yeah. Because I think as G.K. Chesterton, he says, if you are not floating with the stream, you're dead.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, or sorry, if you're not going against the stream, you're dead. That's what it is. Sorry. If you're not going against the stream, you're dead,
Oh,
because a
okay.
dead thing just floats with the river,
I
right?
get you.
So
I get
you're
you.
not like getting better. Sorry, I said that wrong.
That's
But
fine.
yeah. Um So if you aren't like cultivating who you are and getting better, you are like a dead thing who just goes with the flow and you're like stagnant. That sounds like horrible. Maybe that's a little harsh, but it's like you're stagnant is what I'm trying to get at. You're
Yeah.
like you can't just be still. Like there's always going to be ebb and flow. So either you're getting better or you are like actually decreasing because nothing just stands still. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't know if that came across super clear.
No, I get that. And it totally makes sense. And I'm gonna be honest, it's hard um to kind of figure it out. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna go really, really deep here because I feel like that's what this podcast is gonna be about.
Yeah.
But I remember like it was so long ago. It wasn't that long ago. So I was 6 months postpartum with Landon. And I was actually talking to my business coach, and I was just feeling really down, really frustrated, really upset. Like, I didn't know what was going on. And looking back, I realized that 2 months into Landon being born, I had a huge launch for my business, like a huge launch.
Mm-hmm.
And it just happened to have work out that way. Like it wasn't done on purpose. It was just, that's how it worked. And it went well. Everything went well. It was a super successful launch. Business was doing well. But in some ways, I feel like I poured myself into these different avenues because I also was afraid of being left behind. You know, I didn't, I was so scared about losing myself and being a mom. I was like, don't forget about the other things that you do, Leah, you know?
Yeah.
But that's why I think that you do need to have some sort of, not chemistry, but balance with this because as I dove deeper and I talked it out, I kind of realized that I was so worried about losing myself and being a mom. I also didn't take time to just be a mom. And so
Yeah.
I was like, okay, you're going to slow down and your mornings are with Landon and this is what you're going to do. And it changed the game for me to just kind of realize that. And so we're not saying like you don't love being a mom and you don't take the
Yeah.
time to be a mom because you need to take that time, you know, and probably 90% of your day is wrapped up around your kids. And that's
Oh yeah.
great.
Yeah.
But we're just saying don't forget about the 10% to also,
Yeah.
because I think it's really important, especially if you have a new baby or you're a first time mom, to take that time and just enjoy it. Like the world is not going to leave you behind. Your true friends are not going to leave you behind. If you have a business, it's not going to leave you behind. So it's okay to take that time to be a mom. But then when you're ready, you still have that 10% of time to fill up, being you.
Right. And it is like a juggling act, like you said. Like there isn't really a balance, really. Like there's no such thing as like 50-50, right?
Oh my gosh, no.
No, which is another topic for another day as well. But there isn't like a 50-50 balance either. So some days like I'm a business owner too. I'm a career coach and I have my own business. And some days it's like I am rocking the mom world. I feel like I have spent so much time with my kid. We played outside for hours on end, like just had the best day ever together and nothing got done in my business. And that's fine. That's great. That's totally fine. And then there's other days where I feel like I'm just like trying so hard to just get work done. And I'm like, all right, sorry, Seth, you gotta just like watch a kid's show for like half an hour so I can get something done, you know? And,
Yeah.
that's hard even to be like, oh my gosh, am I being a bad mom? Because I'm setting him aside to get my work done. But that's the balance, is that there isn't really a balance. Every day is going to be different. It's like you just have to figure out in that day what you need to get done and what you can get done and what can just wait for tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah. So a
I
lot
love
of,
that.
like you said, just like enjoying those moments instead of like, I don't know, this is what I found is like enjoy those moments as they happen. So like if you're having an
Hmm.
awesome time with your kid, like I will leave my, like lately what I've been doing is I literally leave my phone in the other room. I don't even have it with me because if I hear a ding, I'm going to want to check it. Like
Hmm.
put it in the other room. We're going to go have playtime, read books, whatever. And those are awesome times. I love it. And then other times I'm really feeling like the creative flow in work and I'm getting so much done. And, just ride that. It's okay.
Yeah.
Your baby's going to be okay. He doesn't need you 24/7 right there all the time. Again, I do have a little bit of an older child. He's like 14 months. So he's a
Hmm.
little bit more independent. He's not like a newborn.
Yeah.
But, just enjoying those moments in both your other outlets and your mom life, I think is really important just to kind of be
Yeah.
present in that moment and just ride it in that moment.
Yeah, and I love what you said about putting the phone in the other room and being present with each moment because it's so easy to just get so distracted. So like,
Yeah.
when you're being a mom and you're always a mom, but like we're giving it a check mark for the second, just be fully present in that. And that I
Mhm.
think is so much better than being scattered about so many things. Like if
Yeah.
the dishes don't get done and the laundry doesn't get done, but you were outside playing with the kids and they were loved and they were taken care of, win, check mark,
Mhm.
and then, Landon also knows that when mom gets her computer out, I have to do some work and he's going to
Mhm.
play with the blocks on the floor.
Yep.
Granted, he still tries to come type on my computer,
Yep.
but, you know, we also were playing before then, so I
Yep.
think, there's there's no balance, but making sure that you're making time for both is important.
Right, exactly. And kids are I feel like kids are so much more resilient than we like think that they are. Like
Yes.
there are times where I am like, oh, I need to like really spend good quality time with Seth. I just feel like I need to, like even if we've already played, whatever. I'm like, I just need to take time and like actual spend like one-on-one good quality time. And I go to like read him books or like play with him with his cars, and he doesn't want anything to do with me. He's like, I don't need you, mom. I'm doing my own thing. I've got my own groove going on.
Yes.
And it's so funny to like that he's at that point now. So then those are the moments where I'm like, okay, you're good. Like I can go get dishes done or whatever else needs to get done. That's fine. So it's funny how kids are like
Yeah.
they don't always need us. Like we think that they do, and they do, obviously, we're their mother, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe don't need us as much as we think that they do in our head because we're their moms again. We're worried about them. We're like, are you okay? Are you happy? Are you all the things. We all have our
Oh,
worries with our kids. So they
and
are
I couldn't, the way you said that, I'm over here thinking, oh my goodness, like, I feel like that also comes into that whole identity of who are you outside of being a mom? Because if your whole identity is wrapped up in being a mom, you need to feel needed 24/7. Otherwise,
yes.
you are doing something wrong and you're not. Like, I mean, I think the idea is to make your kids independent of you, right?
Yeah.
So,
No, it is really. I mean, your kids should be if you want your kids to be successful adults, they need to be autonomous from you. That doesn't
yeah.
mean, stick them alone all day. We're
No,
not saying that at all. Yeah.
but they learn that. And I'm gonna be honest, like there are some days where I'm just like, wow, Landon was so happy. Literally his favorite thing is playing on the little bricks next to the fireplace. Our fireplace is not
Oh
lit, you
yeah.
guys. It's not child endangerment. um and there are some days where he just has his little truck and he drives it up and down for 45 minutes straight and he is as happy as a clam. And I keep looking back as I'm typing and I'm like, are you okay? Okay, I'm not going to distract you. I'm going to keep
Right.
typing. And
Yep.
then there's some days where I try to do anything with my computer and he just wants to like be all over my computer and tapping
Yeah.
on it. So it's just, we go outside, you do something else, you redirect,
Hmm.
and it is what it is. But um, I think something that would be really helpful, I mean, I think it would be helpful for me too, is what are some things like, you know, who were you before you were mom? We talked about don't lose your identity, but like that's great. What do we do about it? You know?
Right. Right.
So And let's like give a couple tips of what would you say would be like maybe the number one thing you would tell somebody who felt like they were losing themselves in being a mom, or
Hmm.
they felt bored is not the correct word. That's not the word I'm looking for. But
Yeah. Just kind of
um,
lost, maybe.
yeah, yeah. What would
Yeah.
you say?
My number one thing, honestly, is to get my workout in. And that doesn't necessarily mean like a hardcore, intense workout. It could honestly be
Yeah.
a walk or something. But that for me, like, is my therapy in a way. Like, I feel so much better. I have so much more clarity. I don't feel so tired. And that's like my de stressor. So if I get like 20 to 30 minutes in my day to just ideally by myself, that doesn't always happen. You know, sometimes Seth
Mm-hmm.
is squatting with me and it's fine. He actually does now. He like does
That's
it. He
so
he knows. It's very
cute.
funny. Um but yeah, sometimes, he works out with me and that's fine. Again, maybe it's a good example for him for later. I don't know. But ideally, I do like to have that time to myself if I can, to just kind of get my mind right for the rest of the day. Honestly, I like to work out first thing in the morning if I can. Doesn't always happen again, but that really does get my mind right and gives me so much clarity and just makes me feel a lot better about myself. And when you feel good about yourself, then it's easier to feel good about what's happening around you.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah, I don't
agree.
know. For me, that's really big for me. I know not everyone's like into working out, but I think when people hear workout, they're like, I don't want to do like intense cardio. You don't have to do intense cardio. Take a walk or something. Like
Oh yeah.
just something to have your own time to move your body and clear your mind, basically.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think one of my biggest things always remembering is what did you love to do before you had a kid? Like,
Yeah.
what, like, did you love hiking? Did you love riding horses? Did you love to draw? Did you love playing music? Was your thing like, crafts or
Hmm.
learning new musical instruments or whatever it was? Um, for me, and I struggle with this and I still need to like whack myself over the head, um, is I have a horse and I love riding. I love riding.
Hmm.
But it's really hard to find 2 hours to just go to the barn and ride.
Hmm.
And um because when I find 2 hours, like, maybe Seb is home so he can be hanging out with Landon, or maybe he's at his grandma's. I'm like, there are so many things that I need to do. I am not
Yes.
going to go just ride for, an hour.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I still struggle with. So, I need to listen to my own words here and make that more of a priority. But that's something that I love to do. And I will say, whenever I'm struggling mentally, going out for a ride is like, it's like a mindset changer. It's just the air and the wind
Hmm.
and the horse running underneath you. And it's, I mean, it's not mindless, I guess, because you're riding, but it
Yeah.
kind of is. It's not something that's, making me insanely smarter. It doesn't have to be like you're going to go take a course on something. It's just, what
Right.
did you love doing?
Right.
So,
Yeah, I love that. Like continuing the same things that you loved, because again, that's part of who you are. That's part of your identity. It was who you were and what you loved to do before you had kids.
yeah.
So, yeah, I've only been horseback riding once and it was so fun that I want to do it again, but I don't really know.
Oh,
It was like a friend of a friend and I don't actually know them. So I
oh.
have like no connections, but one day.
Yeah, you can come ride Lido. She needs
Yeah.
to get ridden more, but I think that, I mean, I personally need to go out and do that more, but
Yeah.
it's so important. And yeah, and sometimes it's hard to think back to the things that you used to do like that,
Hmm.
but it's really, really important because you're going to keep bringing that joy to every day. And if
Hmm.
you think about it, even if you don't have a girl, you're not raising a girl, like even if you have a boy, they are looking up to you. And
Oh,
don't
yeah.
you want to model, strength, you want to model boundaries, and you want to model them growing themselves. And
Hmm.
so if they always see you, you know being tired and feeling frustrated and feeling like you're, not having enough sleep, or, even if you're doing one heck of an amazing job, and trust me, you are, it's still so important for them to see you do the things that you love to do, because that's what you want them to do. Wouldn't you tell them to do that?
Yeah. Oh, I love that you brought that up. I think that's huge, is the whole like kids do as we do, not as we say.
Yes.
So like the example that comes to mind is like the mom who has teenage boy who's like all he wants to do is play video games. And she will say a million times like get off your video games, and it's not going to do that much. And maybe mom isn't into video games, but maybe mom sits on her phone a lot because she's feeling overwhelmed. And so that's a screen. To me, any screen time is screen time. Like
Yeah.
it's all entertainment, right? So to me, that's all like the same thing. Or watching a TV show maybe or something. Not that those are bad things in themselves. They're not. That's
Mm-hmm.
fine. You need that time too. But if mom is, just wasting time watching TV or scrolling Instagram or Facebook, and then she turns around and tells her kid like you're playing Xbox too much, do you really think he's gonna actually listen to her? No, because what does he see her doing? She's on a screen. Why can't I be on the screen?
Yeah.
But if mom is like doing those same things she loves or has loved before she became a mom, whether that's like she loved to read or she loved to do her crafts like you were saying, or go hiking or play the piano, if her son is seeing mom do those things, then it's going to show him that what do I like to do actually, like what else can I do, what interests do I
Mm-hmm.
have, and that's going to help that your kid to be a like whole rounded cultivated person, because he's not going to be just obsessed with like one thing, you know.
Yeah. No, I think that's really important. And it's hard,
Yeah.
like Instagram and Facebook and all the things suck you in.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I am totally guilty of that too. Like
I know, me too.
I used to be I was just talking to my best friend about this. I used to be such a good reader, like in high school and even college. I was such a good reader and I love reading. But when I have 10 to 15 minutes, I usually just grab my phone and scroll when I could be picking up my book instead. So that is one
Yep.
of my resolutions for the new year actually, is to read more instead. Like grab a book instead of my phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's hard a lot of times to do the things that you love, because sometimes it does feel like work. But when you actually do it, you're going to feel better, and you're going to remember how much you love doing it, and then you're going to want to do it more. Because if you
Oh
haven't
yeah.
read a book in a long time and you pick it up, it's going to be like, oh, this is kind of a chore to like sit here and read. And then you get through a chapter and you're like, oh, this is actually really enjoyable. I actually really like doing that.
I cannot agree more. I am going to have the worst example for this, but also the best example. So, when we moved to our new house, we there's a hot tub here, and it is not
Oh,
because we are fancy rich. I have no idea. It's literally just came with the house, and I'm not complaining. But you'll be sitting on the couch, and my husband will be like, "Hey, did you want to use the hot tub?" And I'm like, "Oh, but I don't want to change." Like, I don't want to go outside into the cold. But
yes.
as soon as I am in the hot tub, I'm like, this is amazing.
That is the best example ever. Like,
It is literally, sometimes just the process of starting is
yeah.
just because you could be breaking a habit, or you could be changing, or whatever it is. But once you're doing it, you remember why you love it.
Yes. Now
So,
I really need to come visit you for your horse and your hot tub.
right? It is one of those really big hot tubs too. It fits like 7 people. And
Wow.
we never have like any guests over. So,
Yeah.
that part of it kind of goes to waste. But
Yeah.
after that, I told Seb, I'm like, we're really spoiled, now that I've been, like, we have a hot tub. How am I going to not have a hot tub?
Yeah.
We'll just have to get over it.
I
Anyways,
love that. But that is true, like you said. Yeah. I mean, sometimes even what we love is a little bit of work. in the beginning, but usually once you actually start the process and are doing it, that's like running, same thing. Like when you haven't ran, this is me postpartum, hadn't ran in a long time. And my first run postpartum was like, oh, I'm so excited to get out there. It's going to feel amazing. And the first like 5 minutes of running were like horrible. I was like, I am so weak now. I'm so out of breath. I don't even feel the same. My belly's like flabbier, like flapping in the wind.
That is the most annoying thing that happens postpartum is like you run, you jog, you do anything, and you just go, whoa, I never knew that my stomach moved like that.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
It's very humbling. But yeah, it's like after that first initial like 5-10 minutes, I was like, oh yeah, I actually do love this. I feel so much better. And like, it's okay if I'm not as strong as I was before. Like I'll get there. And it just, it takes practice to get back into whatever habit you had or doing what you loved. It's just sometimes it's a little bit of work at first, but it's well worth the reward.
Yeah, it's totally worth it. So we would love for you guys to share what hobbies that you're going to get back into, or some hobbies that you have that you're going to maybe cultivate a little bit more. And you can get on my back and remind me that I need to go and ride my horse more often.
Yep. And you can tell me that I need to read more.
That's right. You're going to have to tell me about your books. I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, do it. And I will ask you when you are riding Lido. Be like, hey, did you give Lido attention?
That's true. I love it. All right.
Great. Thanks, guys, for listening. Again, reach out to us if you have any topic suggestions that you want us to talk about. And we would love to hear your thoughts about this episode. Like Leah said, tell us what things you love or what things that you did love and haven't done in a long time.
Thank you for listening to the Just Between Us Women podcast. You can find us on Instagram at Just Between Us Women podcast, and we absolutely would love to hear from you.
If you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend and be sure to share it to your Instagram story and tag us so we can see.
You can expect episodes every Tuesday.